Om Shanti. Just now we were listening to a song which gave the qualities of a good yogi, a person who is well versed in the art and science of yoga. What will be the signs which will show that he is a yogi, a good yogi? One who is firmly stabilized in soul consciousness and has his love link with Shiv Baba, with the incorporeal Father. So many qualities were being given. A yogi would have this quality, that quality, this ability and the other ability, and so on. But yesterday I was saying that in order that all these abilities and faculties in us, the potential in us may flower, we require the blessings of Shiv Baba. Without his blessings, without his grace, without his kindness, his mercy on us, his special help to us small children who are caught up in the whirl of Maya and who have got stuck up in the mire of the negative forces, we will not be able to attain our absolute stage, the most brilliant, the most shining stage. His help is necessary, and his grace is very essential. So I was saying how we can invoke his blessings on us. How is it possible? Now I would like to recapitulate, to revise within a few minutes what I said yesterday. What were the salient points of the yesterday's talk, and thereafter I will begin the next topic and add a little to what I said yesterday. So let me first of all take up what I said yesterday. I said there are mainly 10 objectives, 10 aims of invoking his blessings. How his blessings would help us. They would help us in 10 major ways. One of these is illumination, elevation. When he blesses us, our spiritual stage will be elevated. We will be uplifted. We will be totally illumined. The days of darkness will be over, and the end of the tunnel will have been reached. We would see the light. And knowledge is light. So that will be our stage. In order that we may be able to have this stage, his blessings are essential. The second is that we have some potential, some talents. In order that those talents, that potential may flower up fully, his blessings are essential. And the third, I said, is transformation. We want to transform ourselves. There is some kind of negativity in us, negative thinking, negative outlook, negative attitudes, and we are very much caught up by these negative forces. And in order that we may be able to counter these negative forces, what is essential is that his blessings be on us. So without it, our transformation would be very slow. Sometimes we will find that we are not making any progress. In the initial stages, when he helped us, we were making rapid progress. But thereafter you will find that the progress is like an ant's pace, very, very slow. So in order to have rapid transformation, enthusiasm is required. earnestness is required, and great spiritedness is required. And this may come in us, is possible when we have His blessings. Another is that we will have the experience of bliss. Bliss is the highest prize of life. It is the highest attainment. It is more valuable than even the sovereignty of the golden aged world. That experience of being linked to Shiv Baba, the soul in union with Shiv Baba, the soul meeting the incorporeal God, when there is no intruder in between us, when we are face to face with that truth. The body is away from us, we are completely detached from the body. We feel that we are incorporeal soul. This corporeal form, the feeling of this is almost vanished. And then we experience that consummating experience of Shiv Baba. And we have purity in us. So that kind of experience based on our purity, our sincerity, our devotedness, and our love link, deep love link with Him leads us to have that very beautiful, very precious, very elevated experience which is generally known as bliss, supersensuous joy. It is some kind of a feeling which does not come through our sense organs, but it is the direct experience. So that is possible when He blesses us. And then we will have clear vision. Clear vision when there are different situations facing us, what we should do, what we should not do. That is the main question which was raised in the Gita. The whole Gita discusses this, to be or not to be, what to be, what should we do, and what we should not do. Do's and don'ts, they are the pivotal point, the central point of all religious scriptures, of all religious talk. So, we will not be required to ask again and again what to do and what not to do. Ultimately, when Arjuna had attained the whole Gita knowledge, he said, Nashto moha, smritir labdha, gata sandeha. Now all my doubts are gone, and I have attained stability of the soul consciousness. And I know what to do and what not to do. My Lord, my Father, I will now obey you and do your commandments. I will, I promise, fulfill what you demand of me. So that stage is reached when clear vision, clear judgment is there. Without that, we may falter, we may commit mistakes again and again, and that may further add to our karmic account. And then wisdom would dawn. When His blessings are on us, we will make wise decisions. We will have that ability whereby we will be able to judge things clearly, and we will be able to do what is required by Shrimad, God's commandments. And we will have foresight as well as insight. These two sides are very essential. Without that, a person is spiritually blind if he hasn't got the insight and the foresight. And I would also say the hindsight. If these three kinds of sights or visions are not there, the person is semi-blind or fully blind. And he will open our eyes. Our third eye will have been opened. You see, the divine eye will be opened. What is what? Who is who? Where it is, when it is, how it is. Everything will be clear. The eye having been opened. So these sights will be available to us. And then we will become better instruments. Each one of us wants to become an instrument of God, in order that we may also be able to make little bit contribution towards or bringing that golden age. And in order that we may be efficient, fit instruments, His blessings are essential. So, and then there will be touchings. What in our technical language here, the BKs generally say the touching, the intuition, the divine thoughts which Shiv Baba speaks to us. Sometimes you will find that a thought has suddenly come to your mind, and this is not the result of your thinking. You did not apply your mind to it. Maybe that even your own ideas are opposed to it, but you will find it is very brilliant, very golden, very comforting, and it is full of purity. It empowers us. It is from the above. A divine touching, we call it. So these are some of the things that would happen when we will be having His blessings. Now, the other thing which I said was that all these blessings are our birthright. What do I mean by birthright? By birth here I do not mean the physical birth. By birth I mean here the spiritual birth, dying of the old and becoming new, newborn. Let us forget our old sanskaras. When a person has died and after the cremation or the burial of the body, the soul takes another incarnation, and in the new body it has forgotten its old relations, its relatives, the events of the past. Some say that these are remembered for the first 3, 4 or 5 years. Thereafter the memories vanish or they fade away, and a time ultimately comes when a person is in total oblivion of what happened in the past life. But what I mean to say is that after a person is born and grown, past memories have become almost finished. They do not exist. This is the spiritual birth. What I say, when I get spiritual knowledge, I get spiritual experience, my relationship with Shiv Baba is established, and I am soul conscious, and I forget about the past. And Baba says, let past be past. Forgive and forget. Open a new chapter of your life, absolutely new chapter of your life. Then I am newly born to Shiv Baba. Then I say, my father, and he says, oh my sweet child. Then the covenant between him and me is signed. We fulfill certain promises to each other. I say, I am yours. I will obey you. You are my father, my guide, my teacher, my preceptor. And he says, I will help you. I will take you across. You are my beloved child. So that thing happens when we have this spiritual birth. And the blessings are our birthright. This kind of statement relates to our this kind of birth. Baba says, you must have blessings. I have come to give you. Then I said that we can have these blessings. For everything you have to pay. You have to do something. Without doing something, without giving something, you can have nothing. It is a matter of give and take. It's a different thing that you give very little and get so much. That is possible. For example, when we sow the seed, we get a crop. The earth gives us a crop, many, many times more than the seeds which we sowed in the soil. So this also happens when we do little and God gives us a mickle, so much. He being the ocean, the king maker. But you have to sow the seed. So this I said, you have to do something, and then you will get your birthright. And he says, new lamps for the old. You give your old lamps to me, and in place of that I give you the new lamps. The old sanskaras, the old thoughts, the old beliefs, the old ideas, the old kind of body consciousness. You give all this roughage to me, and in place of it I give you everything new, beautiful, shining, golden. So this we are supposed to do. Then I said that sometimes we say we want to change, we want to transform ourselves, but the atmosphere is not congenial. I pointed out that we ourselves are the creator of the atmosphere. When we make so much noise, the atmosphere is disturbed. When we are silent, the atmosphere is calm and quiet. Our vibrations, our vritti, our outlook, our attitudes create the atmosphere. Let us not be slave to the atmosphere, because in fact we are the creators of the atmosphere. So no excuse can be there, and there can be no complaint against the atmosphere. It, on the other hand, depends upon us to create the new atmosphere. And then I said there is the Maha Mantra. The, mantra, the chanting which they do, the formula, the religious, spiritual formula. Some people saying Om Namo Shivaya. Baba says Manmana Bhav is our mantra. But I said there is one Maha Mantra, the great mantra. What is that? The great mantra is Baba, my beloved Baba, my most beloved Baba, you are mine. That's all. This is the Maha Mantra. With all the mind, your mind full of love for Him. So much full of love, brimming with love. You speak to Him, whisper to Him. You have the thoughts in your mind of Him. You address your thoughts to Him. And you say, Baba, you are mine. And you will find that Baba responds and he says, child, I am yours. And if Baba says, I am yours, then all his blessings are on me. Because all the property of the father is for the children. And when Baba is mine, naturally all what he has belongs to me. It is mine. So if you want all the blessings, instead of having one blessing, two blessings, three blessings, just a small number of blessings, if you want to have the whole lot of blessings all together, this is the Maha Mantra. That's all. This simple thing if we can't do, then we want to become nothing. It all depends upon ourselves. Then I said, all right, I give you an other alternative Maha Mantra, and he says, surrender yourself to me. Surrender yourself to me. If you can't do anything, say I can't do anything, but I am yours. Your intellect, your emotions, your mind, your body, your time, your consciousness, whatever you have, you say this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. In whatsoever thing you say this is mine, surrender once for all things to Him. And He says, I will give you all what I have to you. So if you want to have all what God has, the only way is that you give yourself to Him. Give yourself to Him. If there is nothing what else you have no money, no time, mind is not congenial for practice, you can't concentrate, you have the self, you say myself, myself, give yourself to Him. And then He says, I will give my whole self to you. This is self-surrender. This is again the Maha Mantra which we should follow. Now what you do if you can't do any of the things? If you can't do any of the things, if really you can't do any of these things, give your little finger to Him. The child gives a little finger to the father, and the father takes his little finger in his hand. So both go side by side. The father becomes responsible for the child because the child has given his little finger. How little is the finger of the child? That tiny tot. very, very small, slender, this finger, he gives it into the hold of the father. The father catches him firmly, and if the path is not smooth, if there is a storm, if there are some obstacles in the way, the father is responsible because the child has given his finger. So just giving your little finger to God is enough. You can't do anything, I say again, you can't do anything. People sometimes ask, I am surprised, you can't do anything. I say, no, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Okay, give your little finger to him, and he will give your whole hand to you. Take your little finger in his hand will be on your head, he will bless you. He takes the whole responsibility. If you don't give your responsibility also to him, do whatever you like, you see. There is no other way. So, if because the philosophy is full of ifs and buts. People say, if there is a nuclear war, there will be destruction. If. But, whether there will be war or not, we say, but there will be war. So if there will be war, there will be destruction. We say but, and they say if. So the whole question is of ifs and buts, you see. Similarly in this, if anything cannot be done, at least you can be faithful to him, can be loyal to him. He blesses you so much, gives you so much, all these precious gems of knowledge, all these virtues which are very, very valuable. All these thoughts, the practice of meditation, which brings you so much peace. He has already given you all these gifts, these blessings, and you are thankful to him, or you are a thankless person. There are certain people whom we give so much. Every time we give them. When they meet us, we give them flowers, gifts, souvenirs, cards, greeting cards. Every time we give them. And if those persons are thankless, how do you feel? How do you feel about them? You should say, he is a thankless person, you see. So, at least if we are thankful to God, are we thankful to God? Or we are thankless to God? So if we are thankful to God, faithful to God, and sincere to God, even then he will bless us. And then I had talked about Hujjat and Mahabbat. He says, if you love me deeply, then your path will not be as strenuous, as hard. You will not have to do hard efforts. I will make it easy for you. What you do in your case, if you love someone, you are prepared to do everything for him. You make all the attempts that person whom you love should not face any difficulties, any problems, any discomforts. You want to make his life as comfortable as within your means as it is possible for you. This is a sign of love, and you are experienced that love between brother and sister, love between husband and wife, love between son and father. Someone loves another and is prepared to sacrifice, prepared to do anything for the person whom he loves. So if you love God, God loves you. It is not one-way traffic. He loves you if you love him. And when he loves you, it means that he will make your path easy. So then there will be rapid progress, very rapid transformation. And you will be blessed with all these. So have this mahabbat. Remember this word mahabbat. Mahabbat. Great love for him. And hujjat. A child has hujjat over his father. The father must do when the child is adamant. And he says, Father, you must do. Tomorrow is my birthday. I want a motorcycle. You must get me. You see. And father can't say no. You see. So have that hujjat and mahabbat on him, God, and you will get all his blessings. And I want to add a few more things. One is the deep yearning. The deep yearning. Are you so thirsty that you can't be without water anymore? Your throat has dried up. Your cheeks inside have been dried up. And you are just asking for water, some drops of water. You feel so much thirsty. Similarly, if you yearn for God, you have no attraction for worldly things. That will bring concentration of mind. You will be able to focus your mind on God if you are really thirsty. That earnestness is required. That is the only key for concentration. Otherwise, your mind will be distracted. It will run away this side, that side, and the other side, helter-skelter. And you would say, I am not able to control my mind. The best way to do is to have earnestness. So that is a real preparation. If you have that, mind you, God's blessings on you. And people very often say, as I was saying, God bless you. When you meet your friends, people with whom you have affection, you say, oh, God bless you. You see, God bless you. And now God says, I have come to bless you. You see, up to now you have been saying, God bless you. And now God himself says, I am here to bless you. What a difference. I am here to bless you. So if even now we don't have his blessings, whose fault it is? They say sometimes to a person who has got little intellect, who can't make right judgment, who can't understand even little things, very easy things, we say, oh, where were you when God distributed intellect? You were sleeping, you see. Or you approached him when everything was finished. When God was winding up, then you approached him for intellect. You have no intellect, only the skull empty from inside. No grey matter, no white matter, you see. Only the skull, you see. So they generally say that you were late in going to God to get your intellect. So God is here. He says, I am here to bless you. No more saying, God bless you, God bless you. God is here to bless you. So, but if now also we don't approach God to bless us, whose fault it is? So, summing up, I would like to say, there are some 5 or 6 things which can bring his blessings on us. One is faith, deep faith in him. Whatever Baba says is for my benefit, for my progress, for my well-being. In that lies my betterment. You see, I have full faith. There is no even pinpoint, margin for faith, for absence of faith. So full faith. Baba says, Nishchay Atma Vijayati. Those who have got complete faith, they are victorious. They win the war. You see. So all your war against Maya will be over and you will be victorious. If faith is there, that will bring blessings. Faith, love, service, devotedness, and obedience. If we have these qualities, rest assured, I say again, you are blessed. You will be blessed. Any person who has these qualities is already blessed, because very few people have got these bright qualities. So the very first sign of being blessed is to have these qualities. And if you have these qualities, God will shower all his blessings on you. He cannot remain without doing this. His act, like the rain drops which fall from the clouds, God will rain upon you all these blessings. I repeat again, the love, deep love for God, faith, service, obedience, and devotion. If we have these, we are blessed. Like the Sermon on the Mount, they say, blessed are the poor, for there shall be the heaven. Blessed are such and such, Christ's Sermon on the Mount. I say these are the keys for blessings. Now this is about blessings from God. Similarly, blessings from the seniors, who are near to God, who have been blessed by God, who have been given certain abilities by God, certain powers by God. Those who have sacrificed their life for God in His service, in His obedience, who have sacrificed so much, who have, experienced so much of trial and difficulties. Now, those who have come near to God, they also have the power to bless you, each one number-wise. But in order that they may bless you, the senior dadis, the yogis, real yogis, tapasvis, they also can bless you, you see. Because after all, they are the instruments of Shiv Baba. Shiv Baba has which saved certain powers in them. You can bless. Now again I will say, if toward the seniors also, you have the same thing. I repeat again, the love, the faith, the service, the obedience, the devotion and regard, respect and regard. If you have these towards them, they will also bless you. They can't be without blessing you. And finally, before winding up, I add one more, that bless others. You bless others. After all, you are also yogis. You are leading a pure life. You have been practicing meditation. You have done renunciation. You have given up so much of negativity. You have now come closer to Shiv Baba. You are in the divine family. You are real Brahmins. You are great souls. Baba says each one of you is special. You can also bless. Never hate anyone. Never think ill of anyone. Never have jealousy or anger towards anyone. Let all be blessed. All be blessed. Think well of others. If you bless them, they will bless you. So you will have the blessings of everyone. Not only Shiv Baba, not only seniors, but in order that others all may bless you, this is the way. So this is where I close this first topic which I took yesterday. Now I begin another one, which actually I was supposed to take up yesterday. You see. Again, going far behind. You see. That Vigna Vinashak, the destroyer of obstacles. I was asked to speak on this, destroyer of obstacles. And today I tell you certain things, and I think nothing will be left. All obstacles will be destroyed. If any obstacle comes in your way, you will find the way in this, you see. It will tell you what to do. Like you have, you see, telephone directory, and you want to find out somebody's telephone number. You just see the name of that person and you get the telephone number. So what is the obstacle? Today I will tell you what are the obstacles, at least the major obstacles, and what are the remedies. So you can immediately find out. You at least will not be puzzled, no confusion. Immediately you will be able to lay your finger on this is the obstacle and this is the solution, you see. So be ready, you see. Now, first of all, I say Baba's Murli. That Murli is like the material medica. You know, Murli is not just like an essay, like a homogeneous kind of a discourse. You will find many thoughts in the Murlis. Baba is talking of one thing now, another thing the next moment, another thing the next moment. Why Murli is like this? I am speaking on one single subject, destroying the obstacles. Baba does not speak in one Murli on one subject. He speaks on so many subjects. Why? The reason is that the Murli gives the solutions to problems. And there are so many children who have so many problems. So Baba has to answer them. How many letters he can write? You see. How many faxes he can do. So this Murli is full of all those solutions. It is like the materia medica. You know, you go to a doctor, they have a book. For this disease, this is the medicine. So Murli is like that. So you will find that your problem is discussed in today's Murli. This is Baba's response to you. When you listen to today's Murli, keep your problem before you if you like. And then you will find Baba has said something about it. This person will think Baba has said about my problem. That person will say Baba has talked about my problem. That person has said Baba has talked about my problem. Therefore, there are disjointed sort of thoughts in Murli. One Murli, so many solutions and so many problems discussed, one after the other. And some of the problems are not discussed. In one Murli, all things cannot be discussed. You won't be able to read. After all, you have to go to your office. You have to work at home. If the Murli is, yes, you take 12 hours to read, then all problems will be solved. But Baba has to give Murli from 6:30 to 7:30. Within 1 hour, he can give a particular number of solutions. Not all the solutions and all the problems. Therefore, wait for today. Maybe your problem will be discussed tomorrow. Come again to the class. Don't miss the class. You see. Because your problem Baba is going to take up. Wait for this. So, that is the first thing you must pay attention to. Then, I say, one of the things which helps us to solve the problem, the first thing, as a matter of fact, is our approach. If our approach to the problem is wrong, there can be no solution. Now take the case of overpopulation. People are trying to solve this problem of overpopulation. Their approach is not correct. Therefore, the population is growing. And they say there will be population explosion. There will be population explosion if it goes on like this. And now they are talking of cloning. If cloning also takes place, then so many people man will stand upon another man's shoulders. There will be no place upon the earth to stand upon. You see, what will you do? So that the approach is not proper. Somebody makes the bombs, another one wants to make more powerful bombs. Then the enemy, when they come to know that this country has prepared very powerful bombs, they ask their scientists to make still more powerful. And this race goes on. And this is not the proper solution. War never solves a problem. So the approach is wrong. They think that by having more and more military power, the weapon power, they want to have the arms race, nuclear race, and this will destroy both of them. This is the solution for not solving the problem. If you want to destroy the world, it is for that. You see. So the approach is wrong. So the first thing is approach. When the problems are there, your approach should be proper. Unless or until the doctor is able to diagnose the disease properly, how can he treat the disease? He has to have, first of all, the holistic approach. Nowadays, the medical people talking of holistic health, you see. Earlier, they were just taking notice of only a disease in some part of the body, not thinking that the whole body is one whole, connected, and therefore we must have a holistic solution. Nowadays also talking of holistic education. Everything holistic, you see. So in this case also we must have the proper approach towards the problem. Now in bhakti, in the path of bhakti, they also wanted to conquer Maya, to be liberated from Maya, to be liberated from the negative forces. They also wanted salvation, redemption. But the approach was wrong. They did not want to fight Maya, you see. They, on the other hand, felt defeated, totally defeated, depended totally upon God. Oh God, oh God, oh God, liberate us. Vishaya vikar mitao, paap haro deva. They would say, oh God, you liberate us from our vices. You see, liberate us from our vices. So you want to stick to your vices that God should liberate you. You see. Now, you have also to do something, because the law of karma is, as you do, so shall you reap. The doer reaps. If you want happiness, you have to do something so that you can have happiness. Now you have done something so that you are unhappy. Therefore, you are to do something which reduces or eliminates your wrong ways. So in bhakti, they had the defeatist mentality. And anyone who has defeated the mentality, he has lost the battle already. He cannot win. First of all, there should be courage, boldness, valor, the confidence, self-confidence. We will win. We will win, you see. Unless and until this resoluteness of mind, this determination of mind, this faith in the self, we will come victorious. If this is not there and we feel that we are defeated, already defeated. They say the weak dies many times before death. That is our condition. So knowledge, they say, is power. Knowledge is power. Someone said knowledge has three qualities. Knowledge is light. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is virtue. But presently I am saying that knowledge is power. So it empowers you in the sense that you build up confidence and you say, I am going to give a good fight to Maya. I will certainly destroy the negativity in my mind and I will emerge victorious. No one can prevent me from this. It must happen. There is no other way, you see. So unless or until this kind of resoluteness of mind and self-confidence and that taking courage in both the hands, if this thing is not there, we are already defeated. So the first approach is to have this valor. The Satyugi world, the world of golden age, is the world of the brave. Who goes to golden age? Who won the victory over Maya? So they are the bold people. So it is a brave new world, not only the new world. Don't say new world, new world. Say a brave new world. What do you mean by brave new world? Only the brave can go to the new world. Which kind of brave? Those who can fire, who can use the guns and the cannons or the weapons, the nuclear arms? No. Those who have got the strong willpower. We must be completely pure. We are going to win a victory over Maya. And who really give a good fight to Maya. Those people, you see this approach, no defeatist approach. And secondly, you must think therefore that willpower is the greatest weapon. Ultimately, America, USA had to come back, you see, from Vietnam. Why? The Vietnam, the small-statured people, the weak people, and the American people, the good people who were given good nourishment, butter and cheese and everything, very nourishing food, having all the vitamins, complete food, as they say. And that nation, the poor nation, they gave a good fight. And they had determined, Americans, you must go back. We are going to win. And ultimately what happened? So willpower is the greatest weapon. Those who give up the will, who lose the will, they are defeated. You see. So also in this case. Then Baba says, this is not only the university, Brahma Kumari's Ishwari Vishwavidyalaya, this spiritual world university. It is not only a university. You are not only students, you are warriors. It is a Shiv Shakti army. You are spiritual warriors, incognito warriors. You are at war with Maya. Maya is your enemy. Ravan is your enemy. You have no fight with anybody. You don't quarrel with anyone. Your feelings are that no person is your enemy. These 6 evils, Sex, lust, anger, greed, attachment, pride, and sloth or laziness. These are the 6 evils. These are the enemies. And therefore, you are not only students who only study the bookish knowledge, but you are warriors. You have to wage a war against this. And therefore, it is not merely a university, but you are at the battlefield. You see, it happens. So it may so happen that Maya snatches our very weapons with which we are supposed to give the good fight. So you have to be alert. Your approach should be that you are alert, so that you are not taken unawares. It is not that you are asleep, Maya attacks you, snatches your weapons and leaves you at there and you are defeated. Keep hold of your weapons, because these are with which you have to give the fight. Then consider that problems are like the staircase, which can take you up. Don't you want to go to up? Don't you want to go to the summit? Rise high, make progress. If you really want to make the progress, this is the staircase. So don't think problem. Don't feel nervous. Don't be afraid. You see, fear is our greatest enemy. On the other hand, think that these problems are the staircase. If we just take them as the steps of a staircase, we can go up. So then you feel hilarious. You feel happy. On the other hand, if you think, oh, one problem after another, I am surrounded by so many problems. I am very unlucky, very unfortunate. All the problems are coming on me. Everyone else seems to be happy. The problems are surrounding me only. You see, if you think like that, this will tell badly upon your nervous system, upon your brain, upon your physical, mental and spiritual energy. If on the other hand you think that these will take me up, oh, very good opportunity. Problems are opportunities. If you take them like that, then you are better ready to face. Mentally prepared, you see. Then Baba says this world is like a drama, eternal drama, which repeats every 5,000 years. A cyclic drama. All of us are actors. And life after you have played the hero part. You are the selected few, you see. Chosen few, you see. And what does happen in a drama? A hero is able to meet the heroine after a great struggle. This is what the drama is made up of. There is struggle. And at the end of the struggle, the hero appears to be hero. We clap and we say, well done, well done. So if problems come, you should think you are a hero. You see, it is struggle. You want to meet Shiv Baba. Shiv Baba is your heroine. Or he is hero and you are heroine. You see, the other way around. So the struggle in this drama is a must. You see, you have to face this struggle. So think like that. So the approach should be, the idea should be that the problems, the obstacles, the difficulties, the hurdles are blessings in disguise. They are blessings in disguise. You were asking for blessings. These are also blessings. Don't think this is a curse. These are blessings in disguise, hidden blessings. So don't be afraid of them. On the other hand, think these are opportunities for your progress. Don't think my progress has become slow. When you break these obstacles, cross these obstacles, you come out victorious, then you will find that you did something very great, you see. And when you construct a building, what you do? You take the broken bricks, the parts of them, or some rough stones, and you dig out a part of the earth where you have to raise up the wall. And just before beginning the wall, before the masons start their work, you put these rough stones there and you just, level them. So those rough stones make the firm foundation. So if these problems come, they are like the rough stones, giving you the better foundation. This work is of character building, and you are building your future in order that you may be able to build a very firm, stable, lasting, unshaky future, which is earthquake proof, moisture proof, and proof to storms and so many other things. Then these rough stones must lie underneath, on which must stand upon your walls. So these problems do that work. Think that this is a necessary part of the building. Without that, if you just on the earth, if you just raise the walls, they will not stay. You have to dig and put these stones in it, and then apply the crusher and put the pressure, level it down, and then only raise the walls. So these problems do that kind of a work. They play that role, which is essential. Similarly, what you do when you make a road, the rough stones, again that kind of thing. And then they become smooth, motorable roads. The motors, the vehicles can ply. They can move on that road. It becomes a smooth road. Before it became a smooth road, there was rough material which must have been laid. Otherwise, it will cave in. When heavy vehicles go on that road, if there are not rough stones underneath it, it is not pakka made, firm thing, then what will happen is there will be landslides, the road will cave in, and there may be accidents. So that was essential. So think that these problems are the pavements, they are paving your way, your road towards your goal. On this you have to move, They are essential in order that the road may be ready. Without making the road, how can you reach your goal? The road is necessary, and for the road this rough material is necessary. So these problems are a necessary part of character building. It is a must have that kind of approach. When a person plays cricket or football, he welcomes the cricket ball in order that he may hit it. He is not afraid of the ball. Oh, it may touch the wicket and he may be out. No, he is ready to give a good hit. Similarly, the problems are like the ball, and you are a player. So Baba has been giving these kinds of analogies. You have therefore to make a good hit. So think that these problems are like the balls. You give a good fight, give a good hit. You must become a good player, And then, when you do all this, Baba says, victory is your birthright, the spiritual birthright. Then this tilak, this sign, this mark on the forehead, where the soul is located. Baba says, I apply this. Why? To tell you that the soul is here, and this soul is victorious. Always remember, Baba said, victory is your birthright. No one can snatch my birthright from me. And they say, vigilance, eternal vigilance. Eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. That is the general saying. Eternal vigilance is the price you have to pay for the freedom. If you want to be liberated, you must keep alert. Vigilance must be there. So be alert. Don't sleep over it. Don't think that you are going to be defeated. You will have certainly the victory. If you are a student, not a warrior, okay, you perhaps have such a nature, very amiable nature, very sweet, harmonizing nature. And when we talk of war, the battle, the boxing, the hitting the ball, and so on, it is not according to your nature. You may think, no, I am just a student. Okay, you are a student, not a warrior. All right? But a student also has to pass certain tests. So, what I was saying was that even as students, in order to do assessment of our learning, how much we have picked up from what we have been taught. Tests are essential. They give us an appraisal of our status, of how much we have achieved in terms of our education. And not only they do that, knowledge is theoretical as well as practical. Theory and applied knowledge. So these tests are practicals. As in science, you learn physics, chemistry, biology, botany, other subjects, and theory is there. You are given in the classroom. Then you go to the field or to the laboratory. You take up your apparatus or the required material, and then you experiment with it. And that is the applied aspect of knowledge. So these tests are the applied aspect of our knowledge. For example, in our classroom, in our daily classes, we are asked to be tolerant, to have patience, to have satisfaction, contentment. Now when situations which are adverse to these qualities come, ye shake our stage, then the question arises, how much tolerance we have been able to achieve. What is the degree of our patience? Are we really contented with whatever we have, or the way we are going, and so on? Or we are always disgruntled, dissatisfied, complaining about others, and always feeling in our mind unhappy, just looking on what we don't have, rather than ever thinking of what we have. So these have to be checked. And in order to check these, the problems come. They tell us in what light we are, how deep in the water we are. So as a student also we have to pass these tests, and these problems serve the purpose of the question papers, the practicals, the applied aspect of knowledge, and make us more mature, give us better understanding of knowledge. When we see it with our eyes, when things practically happen in our life, they take the form of events rather than just past stories of others. They happen in our own life with us, then we know what is what. So from that point of view also it is essential. We should have that approach towards the problem. So this is the first point, of which I have given you so many sub-points. This is what I call the approach. All these points which I have been giving up to now, they give you the proper approach to the problem. One or the other approach is essential towards your problem. The second is stability. Stability of the mind. Your sthiti, Baba says sthiti, your spiritual stage, the stability of your stage. Whether you become shaky, you waver, you begin to tremble, just seeing a paper tiger, you are afraid, or you just are prepared to fight and face. So stability, sthiti, spiritual stage, spiritual stability, firmness, grounding in the soul consciousness, in meditation, that constant stage of meditation, that not that we are sometimes body conscious, sometimes soul conscious, but that we are soul conscious. How is our stage? How much we have achieved in this subject, in this art, in this practice. So instead of being afraid of the problems, just check up your sthiti, your mental and spiritual stage, because that will enable you to cross all those hurdles and obstacles. That self-confidence and stability. But the stage of stability depends upon the stability of your consciousness. The stage of your spiritual and mental stability depends upon the quality of your consciousness. What kind of consciousness you have? You are conscious of money, of the opposite sex. You are conscious of the negative qualities of a person. You are conscious of negative things. Or you are conscious of the soul and the supreme soul and the positive and bright things, the positive aspect of life. Are you pessimistic or you are optimistic? What is your outlook and attitude, positive or negative? So if your stability is like that, then you will certainly be able to face the problems. So the second thing is to just pay attention to your stability. Then again, I had said earlier that muhabbat, love of God, will liberate you. It is God's love and our love for God which liberates us. Muhabbat. Then we will not have to do strenuous efforts in order to solve our problems. So if the problems are very hard, you are not able to solve them, your attention should be whether you have love. You will find that love is lacking, you see. Therefore, those problems are staying. You are unable to break them. You are unable to cross them. You are short of energy, stamina. It is because you are short of love towards God. Now, then stability comes from remembrance, as I said. If I remember Shiv Baba, then my mind is stable. Now, these are the two abilities, remembrance and forgetfulness. Everyone has these abilities. We forget certain things, we remember certain other things, but we are using wrongly. Things which we should forget, we remember them, and the things which we should remember, we forget them. Now this remembrance, not of Shiv Baba and not of ourselves as souls, and remembrance of certain other things is the real problem. There is no other problem apart from this. For example, some people have said that all the problems in the world, you see, somebody has compiled a comprehensive list. An agency of the United Nations has prepared some kind of a directory. The world is faced with these problems. There are some thousands, in thousands. But of all those thousands of problems, man is the problem. The real problem is man, because all those problems are created by man. If you make man, the divine man, characterful man, you see, who has got those values and virtues in the life, then these problems will be solved. So man is the problem. And similarly, our wrong remembrance and wrong forgetfulness is the problem. You will find we forget certain important things, do certain useless things, remember certain other things. Now, what kind of remembrances are the negative remembrances which create problems for us? I will briefly mention some of the major wrong things which we remember, which actually we should not. These are the bitter remembrances. They give us a bad feeling. They make us unhappy. We lose our energy. For example, someone does not cooperate with us. We have been helping. We have been cooperating with that fellow. And he, in our time of need, does not cooperate with us. We have this remembrance of that person having not cooperated. This person did not cooperate. He did not help me. Again and again this thought comes to my mind, you see. So it is pricking like the thorn into the flesh. This idea, this remembrance is pricking into my conscience, my mind. He did not help me. He did not cooperate with me. Then secondly, he did not do justice to me. He did injustice to me. Someone working in the office, the boss in the office has partiality. He favors somebody and he does injustice to another. Again and again the thought comes to my mind, he has been unjust to me. He has done injustice to me. So instead of Shiv Baba coming to my mind, that person, the picture of that person comes to my mind again and again. And I remember this person has done very wrong thing. he is a bad man. So I am doing the opposite of meditation. Instead of saying Shiv Baba is blissful, loveful, peaceful, so on, I am saying this person is unjust, bad, though and so on. I am remembering that bodied person in the negative way. So doing injustice. Then somebody has deceived me, cheated me. He has done false promises to me. I depended upon him, and ultimately he failed me. He did not fulfill his promise. So that comes to me, what kind of man he is. Look, he is very strange. He said he will do this, he will do that. I depended upon him. And when I came back, nothing was done. He was sleeping. He was snarling, deeply asleep, as if nothing is to be done. I depended upon this man, you see. Lazy man, I would say lazy man. So on and so forth. So, this kind of thing, that he deceived you, made you false promises. Then someone neglects you. You also have some ability. You could play a role. You also have some merits. There are certain things which could have been entrusted to you. You should have been given some responsibility. You should have been welcome. You should have been offered participation. You should have been asked to join them. But they neglected you. Oh, they neglected me. As if I know nothing. I could not do anything. They are selfish people. They want their own name and fame. They totally forget me. You see. And then they say they are my friends. And so on and so forth. This storm of negative thoughts comes into my mind. Again and again I say, they have neglected me. They have rejected me. Life is not worth living. Just see my friends, my relatives. I am forlorn, I am alone. Nobody loves me. They don't care for me. They never even invite me. You see, on occasions, they never remember me. Never there is a telephone call from them. They did not send any greeting to me. You see, at least they could have sent a New Year card to me. Nothing. So rejected. And rejected, having this feeling, I feel dejected, you see, unhappy. So this kind of remembrance, oh, they did it. Okay, they did it wrong. But remembering, you are prolonging, you see. Their wrong act, you are giving more duration, you see. It is a 1 minute act they did, and you are making it a lifelong remembrance, you see. Just trying to pierce pins into your own body and making yourself unhappy. If they did it, it is their wrong. Have self-respect. If you can do something, never mind you do whatever you want to do. Do something so that they recognize that you are also a talented person. Instead of doing something, you are just thinking why they did not do this, you see. So don't prolong your sorrowful moments by remembering the wrong thing. Then they misbehaved with you. Oh, among a number of friends, we were just enjoying a particular occasion and they insulted me. They talked ill of me and they misbehaved with me. They don't have any dignity. They have no sense of the dignity of the human individual. You see, I am a person and I have a proper place in my life. I am not depending upon them, not begging from them. Why should they have behaved with me like this? What wrong I did? Again and again I think like that because they misbehaved with me. So this kind of remembrance. Then if on the other hand you think that all these things, what I mentioned, some of them, there can be a large of variety of them, but some of them I have mentioned, keeping in mind the constraint of time, you see. If you think they are really helping you, these factors, your attachment with all these people will be gone. Some people learn certain lessons the hard way. Shiv Baba has been asking us to give up attachment. We are not giving up attachment. Oh, he is our friend. my bosom friend, you see, my chummi. We have been friends from the very small age, studying together, living in the same street. We are closer even than our brothers. So I have attachment towards him. I very often think of him. I can never forget him. But now that this friend has insulted me, he has rejected me, he has done some kind of a false promise to me, my heart is broken. Oh, this is the world. Just see. Is this what is friendship? You see. So my attachment is gone. You have attachment with so many people. That is why you are unable to concentrate upon God. You are unable to wind up, to detach from all these directions and put your love only on Shiv Baba. Just focus your mind on Him. And in a hard way, when people rejected you, insulted you, misbehaved with you, and so on and so forth, then you know, in a difficult way, you learn your lesson. This world has become so bad, you see. Now this truth has dawned upon you, what the human beings of the Iron Age are like. And now you think, Shiv Baba, you are really my friend, you see. You always say, sweet children, I have often not obeyed you, but still you love me, you see. You are not demanding anything from me. I have done nothing from you, and still you love me. So my mind will deviate from the world, the material world, and be attracted towards God, towards Shiv Baba. So think, whatever has happened, all these things, they are the last kick of Maya, you see. So that now you are drawn towards Shiv Baba, and you are detached from that. It is a lesson. So don't be, thinking negatively of them. Forget about them and remember Shiv Baba. Again use these two, forget and remember. Remember Shiv Baba and forget these. Now these are some of the things which are a creation of my mind. How I look at things, how I feel when certain events happen. There may be other kinds of events. For example, there may be natural calamities. I have a building because of a typhoon, because of some other natural calamity. The building is destroyed. I have my business. I suffer a loss. Certain things which are out of my control. Maybe that the government made some new laws. Maybe there is some recession in the whole of the country. Maybe certain things have gone out of fashion. Maybe certain other things. Due to those reasons, I have loss in my business. Certain things have happened. Now, similarly, what happens is, when these things happen, Baba says, just as I said, you learn a lesson in a hard way of detachment. Similarly, in this case, when these things occur, Baba says, never forget drama. Drama. It is on such occasions that you must remember drama. Don't forget drama. You forget drama and remember these mishappenings. You see. Baba says it is in the drama, and always think drama is accurate. In the sense that whatever has happened is not without a cause. Nothing happens without a cause. Every event has a predecessor, the cause. Maybe I did some past acts or acts in this life, of which this is the result. So drama is accurate. Nothing happens without cause. Every event is tied up in the chain of cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect. You see. And remember also, drama is Kalyankari. Whatever happens in the drama, now that I have given my hand to Shiv Baba, who is Kalyankari, who does good to me, who is my well-wisher, who is responsible for my progress. Now, this what appears to be loss, what appears to be a calamity, you will find after some time, you will find that behind it, underneath it, lay your betterment. Certain new things will emerge. Maybe that you were doing a kind of business and there has been loss. You give up that kind of business which gave you small earnings, and now with the little earnings, with the little money you have, you start another business, another line. Maybe you get more profit. You sometimes don't know what is in store for you in the future. Therefore, you begin to worry. You are disturbed. Don't feel disturbed because Baba is responsible. You are under his umbrella, and wait for some time. Have patience. Depend upon him. Have faith upon him. And you will find that sooner rather than later, the events take a turn. And you find that this is for your betterment. He wanted to take you out of certain things, and you were not prepared to come out of those things, you see. Maybe that your house is destroyed. You moved to another city, and in that other city there is some good fortune waiting for you. Just be patient. See what happens. When that happens, you will say, oh, Baba did miracles. And before that, you are disturbed. Have this firm faith. Drama is accurate. Drama is kalyankari. Some good thing will emerge out of it. Never mind what has happened. Even if I become poor, what happens? Blessed are the poor. You see, this is the Sermon on the Mount. You, maybe that you were in the money and after the money, always thinking of money, counting the notes, not thinking of the money which is in terms of virtues, values, gems of knowledge and so on. Maybe in your present state, you are able to become better, spiritually higher up, and that ultimately leads to a very, very bright future. Maybe Baba wants you to take up this. You depend upon him, leave it to him. You are thinking of your role, but Baba is also thinking of your role. He is designing your future. You give it in his hands and say, Baba, what am I to do? What role you want me to play? And you will find that he gives you a better role to play. So, have that kind of feeling. So, loss has already occurred. A house is destroyed. There is loss in the business or loss in some other way. You see, maybe in reputation or some other kind of grievous loss. By remembering it, you are prolonging it. You are losing the present precious time. Time is value. Your health is value. You see, they don't have any value. If you lose your health, your vigor, your stamina, you become a disabled person, you see, a diseased person. You have to be hospitalized. You have to spend all the more money on this. You are in a straitjacket. What will you do? And then you can't do anything. You are prolonging your difficulties, creating new problems for you. On the other hand, Baba says, put a full stop. Okay, finished. Past is past. Let me have new beginnings, a new thing. You see. And Baba says, make best out of the waste. Whatever is left, whatever is the wastage, you try to make the best out of it. Learn that. Many people became rich. They became good business people. They had little money in the beginning. They had enterprising nature. They did some adventure, took some risk, plunged into the job, used their intellect. You see, and they became great businessmen. They earned a lot of money. Earlier, it was not that from their very birth they were very rich people, not all of them, you see. Just read the biographies of many of them and you will find this was the case in them. So even if you are left with a few coins, whatever little you are left with, you can still start your future and can make it bright. Make the best out of the waste, Baba says. Always remember Baba's these words. Children, make the best out of the waste. They always say to God, Bigdi ko banane wale, Bigdi ko banane wale. Certain things have been spoiled, they have gone wrong, they have gone awry. And God makes them, you see, the best. And you are God's children. He has given you powers. You are yogis. You could also do the same thing. So do it like that. So I close it here because we have spent our time. Maybe some other time I take the whole of it. I made it a little bit comprehensive so that this is a full-fledged subject which relates to us all. Many kinds of problems come in our life and we have to be prepared to solve them. But, as I said, the time is up. Thank you. Om Shanti.